What is up? It is your boy Johnny Mag back at you for another edition of the All Angels podcast, joined as always with
Daniel Garcia.
and man, big news coming out of the world of baseball, well, Angel world anyway. The last time we did a podcast, a few days before somebody signed with the Angels, and I'll let him introduce himself real quick.
My name is Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani is the newest member of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. It was big news. I mean, rumors had him coming here, maybe not. It looked like the baseball world really didn't think he was going to come over here, but it happened.
Yeah, you're right. And again, we did the last podcast was I think the December 8th was a typical Thursday. And then that Friday morning, around 9 o'clock, 9:30, the news breaks that he decided to choose the Angels, and the Angels rolled out the red carpet. I didn't go personally, but I know quite a bit of people that went to the press conference that had at Angel Stadium. It was a televised. I did watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really good sight to see. A lot of excitement around Angel Stadium. A lot of excitement around just the team in general.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. I mean, when the news broke, I was pretty surprised. I mean, I wasn't blown out of the water, but I was just like, this is cool that we signed him because it was a guy that everybody wanted.
Right.
And he decided to join the Angels, and I don't know, I guess he had a really good relationship with Billy Epler. I guess Billy Epler had gone over to Japan a few years ago and made an impression on him.
I don't know if you watched the 60 Minutes did a story about him, like a segment about him, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And yeah, Epler's actually been recruiting that guy since he was in high school, when Epler was with the Yankees.
Yeah.
He was one of the head scouts with the Yankees at the time, and he made a couple of trips back and forth from New York to Japan and started recruiting this kid pretty much out of high school in his high school years. So yeah, the relationship with Epler played a big role in him choosing the Angels.
Yeah, and it was just, the baseball world, like I had mentioned before, was pretty shocked. They were kind of having him going to Seattle, possibly. What was the other team that was
Well,
going?
I mean, we knew our last podcast, if you listen, his criteria was he wanted to be on a West Coast team, he wanted to be in a smaller market. There was those rumors that he wanted to be in a market where it didn't have an already established Oriental player. So we kind of already knew the parameters he was looking at. So if you put two and two together, a lot of the signs point to the Angels. But as a fan, you're never really too sure until he actually decides to choose a team and sign on the dotted line.
Right, and man, it was big news. I mean, the Angels made huge headlines there. So I mean, the question that everybody has been asking, and we'll touch on the quote unquote injury in a second here, but what does Shohei Ohtani bring to the Angels? Now, that's a hard question to answer because the only thing that anybody knows is what we've heard from and what he's done in the Japanese league. And in the Japanese league, we all know that he's been a lights-out pitcher. He played in the WBC for Japan.
Right.
We saw glimpses of that. He's a power pitcher with some velocity to him, but he also plays offense. He's a left-handed hitter.
Yeah.
Do not expect him really to be in the outfield.
No.
That's just something that I believe isn't going to happen. I think you'll agree with me. I don't think that should even happen. The Angels have a solid outfield. But if you can get him at bats in there and he can produce, then I don't see why the Angels don't play him maybe twice a week and then the day that he pitches.
I saw something where, and Epler has gone to Japan since the signing and talked to their people over there about how to use them, what's the best way to use them. I think, personally, I would be in favor of them going to a 6-man rotation for a couple reasons. One, you give the rotation that is coming back from injury, whether it's Richards, Shoemaker, Haney. I mean, you probably named the whole pitching rotation. They're all coming back from like something big, something small. But you put a 6-man rotation in there. Now you give Ohtani, he can pitch one day, he can be off 2, he can play the field, or not play the field, but DH a couple days, be off again before his next up in the rotation, or 2 days before the next day in his rotation. So it gives him at bats with still giving him rest in between starts to where he's not burnt out by the middle of August.
Yeah, and yeah, 6-man rotation works, and it gives them an extra day to kind of relax and pay the field, or not pay the field, but DH. And so I don't expect Ohtani to be a home run hitter, and don't expect this guy to hit a home run every at bat. But if he can provide some pop from the left-handed side, that's perfect.
Yeah, and if you look at the Angels lineup, I mean, we're going to get in later to the other additions they made, but if you look at the lineup as it is now, it is super right-handed heavy.
Yeah,
with Cole only really being the left-handed hitter, the only left-handed hitter in that lineup that's going to play every day. Yeah,
every day.
You have Valbuena come in and out depending on if the situation calls for it, but as far as an everyday kind of lineup, the only any kind of left-handed pop you have is going to be Calhoun. Okay. So if Ohtani can provide at least somewhat of a pop from that left-handed and just give it kind of a threat, it would help the team out greatly.
Now, as far as the pitching side of the thing, everyone talks about how great of a pitcher he is. How he's there's a few people that I've heard on on MLB Network or even on ESPN podcasts talk about how Ohtani can be the top of the rotation kind of guy. So as far as pitcher is concerned, he's going to slide into that rotation. He's going to. I think we've talked about it before in our podcast. It doesn't really matter if you're 1, 2, or 3, 4, 5. If you're in there, you're in the rotation, and you come in and you put the quality start out and you give the team a chance to win. That's great. A lot of people talk about how the Angels don't have that shutdown starting pitcher. Ohtani can possibly be that. Again, we can't talk much about what he can do. We can just hope, and we're hoping that he can be a solid starter in a rotation, top line kind of guy. But again, it's all about getting him out there and see how he there's a difference between the Japanese league and the MLB, so I can make the adjustment.
And again, too, for people that don't understand, we have him on a very, very club-friendly contract. So, it's not going to be one of those things where, wow, he's making so much money, he needs to produce X, Y, and Z. It's like, with the contract that he has signed, he will be able to slowly kind of work his way into it to get more familiar, to get more comfortable, not only as a pitcher, but also as a hitter, because, again, these are people he's never pitched to, and these are people that he's never hit off of. So it's going to maybe take a little bit for him to get acclimated into his new surroundings.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to have to get used to the swing of the major league schedule. I think there's more games in the major league schedule than the Japanese schedule. So, and then the whole 6-man rotation, like I said, is going to alleviate some of him, getting used to pitching a lot of innings. So hopefully that'll, and not to mention how much that saves our rotation period, everyone down the line. So. We had a soundbite, right, on Ohtani?
Yeah, I believe it's the from ESPN, and just talking about Ohtani, what he brings and possibly could bring to the Angels and just baseball in general.
All right, here it is, the sound clip regarding Shohei Ohtani.
The first thing they're going to do with him is they're going to put him on the mound and hope that all the scouts are right, that he can be a front-line starting pitcher for a contending team. If he's as good as everyone says he is, and he just might be, he can be someone that is arguably the best starting pitcher on this team.
So that kind of just touches on what I was just saying, how people are just kind of, he can be a frontline kind of guy. Now, news that came out about a week later that freaked out Halo Nation and it was something that everyone knew about. It was something, not us per se, people that, but people that were involved in the signing of Ohtani, every team that was in the mix knew about this. He has a strain of his in his elbow.
Yeah, the UCL.
UCL. Now, if anyone knows any type of baseball, I think every pitcher that has ever pitched at a high level has had a strain in their elbow. I had a strain in my elbow once.
Yeah, it's a grade 1, so it's the lowest grade. And like what you said, a lot of people were critical of Ohtani and the Angels of signing him because of the fact that he was injured. But everyone knew the injury because it did happen, I believe, in October of last year. So while everyone's doing this betting process to where they're trying to get him, they're trying to woo him, trying to get him to come to their team, everyone knew it. And then there's reports later on saying that maybe there was an upset GM of a team that he didn't decide to sign for, kind of leaked it out, or an assistant, or it came from a club. Every club knew the information, so it had to come from somewhere. So some people were saying, hey, so-and-so team must have got upset that he didn't pick them, and they leak out this information to kind of rain on the parade. But again, the UCL joint, which is people see that as not joint, the ligament that's associated with the Tommy John surgery. But again, it's just a simple grade 1. He had a PRP injection when it happened in October, and right now he's cleared to throw, and he actually is throwing off a mound now, because again, it happened in October, and I think it's a 6-week thing.
Yeah.
So
He should be ready for spring.
Right, he should be ready for spring. And again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, 6-man rotation, that helps that out too. So
and what people were freaking out on were like, oh, the Angels got screwed and they're so dumb, and I'm like, how did they get screwed when they signed this guy to a minor league contract?
Right.
6 years, league minimum, arbitration eligible after the 3rd season. The Angels win. They're win-win situation.
Yeah, even if you worst case scenario, he doesn't pitch again. He'll have at bats because again, the UCL joint, it could affect you as a swing, but not nearly as much as
not throwing the ball.
Exactly. So let's say worst case scenario, he needs, he can't pitch for the year or half the year. He's still gonna be getting at bats. He's still gonna be a DH guy. And now you slide him into that DH role, maybe not full time if you can't pitch. But again, like you said, the contract, minor league deal, you have control. If he just DHs this year because of it, no big deal. He's still getting his money. You're still getting your money's worth. But
for sure.
All indication says that UCL sprain should be fine and be back to the way he was before last season.
Yeah, and this is how I kind of when everyone's freaking out, Jessica, my wife, was like, oh my God, the Angels signed this guy and he's hurt, right? And I said, no, everyone's freaking out. This is how I put it. This is the terms that I put it to some people out there. I said, I lift weights. I do Olympic weightlifting. So I strained my back, right? And, I can't lift weights. Of course, I strained my back. I have a strain in my back. I go to the doctor and he gives me a shot or he gives me pain medication and says, take this, you'll be fine in a week. But be careful, because if you start lifting weights again, you might hurt yourself.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. Of course, he got hurt. He went through the process of getting himself fixed. Of course he might get hurt again. That's with anything, with anybody. So guys, stop freaking out. Everything's okay. Ohtani is going to be ready for spring training. So Ohtani was just the first of many things that happened within the weeks that we haven't done the podcast.
Yeah, and the month, this is all before Christmas too, so it happened fairly quickly.
Yeah, it kind of just piggybacked off each other. So the Angels made moves real quick. So the next bit of news, I think the Angels went ahead and the breaking news is the Angels went ahead and traded for Ian Kinsler. Pretty decent move. I like the move. Kinsler brings definitely like a bat to a position that we haven't had since Howie Kendrick. Giovanni filled in nice for a year, then flopped. We had no one really there at second base last year. Espinoza, we had Franklin. Who did we finish off the year at second base with? Brandon Phillips.
Brandon Phillips.
So bringing in Ian Kinsler, a guy with veteran leadership, pro season experience with the Rangers, I thought it was a pretty decent move. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a good move. Again, Kinsler this was on December 14th. Is going to play second base. But it was a good move at trade. They didn't really give up anything. They gave up some low-end prospects, a pitcher and a center fielder. But again, the center fielder has never gone higher than single A.
Right.
And then I believe the right-handed pitcher was still in rookie ball. So again, you're not giving up any kind of top prospect at all. But Kinsler, 1-year deal. You only pay him for 1 year left on his contract. It's $11 million. He's 35 years old. So again, it's one of those things where if it works out, great. If it doesn't, you can afford to let him go at the end of the year and not feel like you missed out on anything. But slight down year last year. He only batted .236 with 22 home runs. So it was an off season for him. But I think the more important part, and I think this goes back to what the Angels like to do in general, is like they like to have good defense.
Yeah.
They like to save runs just as much as they produce runs. But so in that aspect, he's a 2016 Gold Glove winner.
Right.
His fielding percentage last year was .983. So it's not like he can't do anything. So I think the majority of what they brought him for was the defense up the middle.
Right.
So now you'll have him. You'll have Golden Glove guy like Simmons right next to him, and then you have Maldonado behind the plate. So you can have it strong up the middle. They have Trout. So
Trout in center.
So pretty much straight up the middle looks really good for the Angels defensively. kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, he has struggled this year batting wise, or last year batting wise. But I looked it up against AL West teams last year. He did bat almost 300. So it is kind of a small sample. But again, if you want to try to look the positive side of it, he did hit well against the Astros, the A's, the Rangers. So I guess if you're gonna try to pick something out of the bad that he had last year offensively, that would be one of them.
You got to remember too, he was playing with the Tigers, and the Tigers
Right.
were pretty much just garbage by the time the season ended. But 22 home runs, I'll take that. That's way more than we've had out of second base in a really long time. I don't think we've ever had that more than 20 home runs from a second baseman since probably Bobby Grich.
Right.
I think Adam Kennedy had that many home runs, but you're right. Defensively up the middle, they look solid.
And then if you look at the Angels second baseman last year, if you combine everybody that plays second base, their average was 206.
Yeah, so
even
instant upgrade.
Yeah, so even if he bats 236 again, you're automatically upgrading.
Yeah.
And it was last in the league at second base. All the stats, all the slash numbers you want to call it.
And you cannot take for granted just the presence in the lineup that he brings. A guy, just the name itself, Ian Kinsler in a lineup.
Right.
It brings it kind of like, shit, there's Ian Kinsler,
And again, too, you look back at it, they didn't give up a whole lot.
No.
Angels are
Not at all.
really worried about giving up top prospects, or even signing some of these free agents that have draft pick compensation connected to them.
Right.
So they're trying to avoid that part of the deal where they can still build up a farm system that still needs to get built up.
Not give away the farm.
Exactly.
So the Angels weren't done yet. The other breaking news happened shortly after the Angels went out and signed shortstop Zach Cozart, but he moved to third base for the Angels. Zach Cozart, a very solid acquisition, I believe, or a pickup, I believe. Like you had just mentioned, picking up a guy like Cozart, we don't have to give up a farm guy. If we would have picked up a guy like Moustakas, that's something we would have probably had to have given up somebody.
Yeah,
draft pick or whatever. But Cozart had a great season last year in Cincinnati. What do you think about the move?
It's good. Again, he's a little bit on the older side. He's 32.
Right.
3-year deal. He's been making about $12.5 million a year.
Right.
But again, not bad. Had a career year. The only thing that you're worried about is can he continue that career year into the next 3 with the Angels, or if it was a shot in the pan. But as for the Angels, I think it works out great. You get a reliable third baseman there. He did, again, career year last year. Batted .297, hit 24 home runs. He was batting .337 with runners in scoring position. So he came up clutch when he needed to. And I think overall it was a really good pickup for the Angels. Not only because you have him at third base, but they also now, kind of like what you're saying, is that they didn't have to give up anything. They didn't have to give up a draft pick or give up a trade for someone else. But you hope he continues the way he's going, and now your infield will look. First base is still kind of up in the air with Ohtani, and if Albert's going to play there, or if Crone's going to play there. But other than that, you have Kinsler at second, Simmons at short, and then now Cozart at third, and has a pretty good third base or infield for the Angels to save some runs.
Yeah, defensively, I think like you mentioned before, the Angels look pretty solid. If Cozart can make the move over to third, which I think he should, I don't think it's that.
Yeah, I don't think it's
not for a guy at his quality of defensive prowess. He can definitely move over. Alex moved to short to third. There's been a lot of people that have made the move, and I don't see why Cozart can't. Defensively, the Angels should be able to save a lot of runs. That actually contributes into winning games, people, not just hitting home runs. Making the plays defensively wins you a lot of games, saves a lot of games. So the Angels are looking good defensively. We have another clip about the lineup, and you've listened to this clip, so
yeah, it's from the MLB's podcast Morning Lineup, and they're just talking about, I believe it's David Jess, they're talking about what with all the additions, so the Kinsler, the Cozart, the Ohtani, and then even Upton too, because remember the Angels still had to re-sign him. It wasn't like he's a carryover. He opted out. They were able to work out a deal, and now you have him for a full year instead of just a month. So in a way, that's also, I think people, when they want to get a big name, they forget that Upton is a big name.
We had to get him
because we had to re-sign him. It wasn't as easy as him just coming over. But they're talking about the lineup and what it could possibly be.
All right, here it is.
Bottom line is, you put those guys in a lineup
with Mike Trout and Simmons, you suddenly have a team that has a darn good, potentially, you have a team that has a good lineup and potentially a really, really good lineup, and maybe has cut a little of those 21 games they finished behind the Astros.
They will definitely cut into those 21 games.
Yeah.
I think you just mentioned it, having the 35 home runs from Justin Upton in our lineup all year long could have maybe won us an extra 6 to 7 games last year.
Right.
Probably more.
Right.
And then now having a guy in Zach Cozart who might have saved a few runs here and there playing third base, or even with his 24 home runs that he had last year. That wasn't in our lineup last year. If Mike Trout can stay healthy all year long, we did not have Mike Trout for 6 weeks.
Right.
And the Angels were able to kind of, that's why I think they overachieved last year. We were able to kind of just stay where we were for 6 weeks until Mike Trout came back. So if the Angels can stay healthy, that lineup looks ridiculously good. I'm pretty excited about that, and I'll touch quickly on the Upton thing. You said, guys, you can't forget how important it was to sign it. Because if we don't re-sign Justin Upton, what do the Angels do in that field? What would we have done? Because you look at the free agent market right now, who would they have gone after?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you would try to get Upton, but I mean, in the outfield, you have Jay Bruce just signed for the Mets, so he would have been up there. There would have been, a handful of guys, but
not an Upton caliber guy. I think
right. Yeah, I think, and that's the big thing too, is that you have to remember the quality of guys. I mean, there's guys out there that you could get to do a good job. Maybe not a great job, but do an okay job. But I think that was, and we talked about it last one. That had to be the number one priority for the Angels coming into the offseason. It wasn't necessarily everyone to do pitching, everyone to talk about the bullpen, everyone to talk about that. I think the number one option or priority for them had to be the outfielder re-signing Upton, and I think they did that right away. It wasn't, but maybe a week after he opted out and they were able to work out a new deal. Yeah. It's team friendly. He's making a little less, but he had an extra year to make up in the back end.
Right.
So it worked out for everyone. So
it's a big contract, but it looks bigger than it really is. Like you just mentioned, it's very friendly if you look at it. It allows the Angels to, when Mike Trout's contract is up, it allows them to have that money still to go after Trout.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the number one signing they had this offseason, but a lot of people just
they forget. They forget. On the team last
year.
They
figured he ended the season, and he.
No, they re-signed him, and left field has been a sore spot for the Angels for a number of years now.
Right. I mean, last year wasn't bad with Maven. Then he got hurt because he brought something different to the team than Upton will. Maven's going to be the on base guy and steady bases, and now you have great pop and Upton, and now you put him behind Trout, and Trout's going to get some protection that he hasn't had in a really long time. I mean, Pujols was behind him for a while, but for a lot of time, Pujols was an all or nothing guy. Teams weren't necessarily scared of him because they knew you can either strike him out or
get him to hit a ground ball.
But now Upton's behind him, and now you have to be a little more cautious with him. And then you have Albert behind that, and then maybe Ohtani behind that. And if Ohtani is what everyone thinks he is, and that's even better protection.
Let's not forget Kinsler now.
Kinsler might be the leadoff guy.
Cozart.
From what I understand, Cozart might slide into that 6th, 7th spot.
Not forget Andrelton Simmons. Last year.
Had a career high in home runs. He can again. I think Cozart and Simmons are going to be in that 6th, 7th spot.
Maldonado in the bottom of that lineup isn't bad either.
Right. So
the dude had 14 home runs last year.
Right. So if you look at it, and everyone plays to the potential, and again, knock on wood, but no injuries. I think the Angels' offense will definitely be better than it was last year. But again, they were high 20s in offense last year, so it's not going to be hard to get better than last year. So, offensively, it looks really good for the Angels. Everyone is able to stay healthy, come out of spring training, and have, not even a great year, but have a career average year for all the guys. I think you'll see a big difference in the Angels' offense.
We're going to get quickly going to a couple of the questions because they pertain to what we're talking about right now. This one was sent by Duncan Healy, and he sent this in late December. So it's been a few weeks now, but it said, "What's up, fellas? Gonna ask the basic question: Are the Angels done making moves, or at least big moves?" Duncan, I think that if something comes their way that they see is fitting, they'll make a move. As far as big moves, I think they're done. I don't think they need to go out and get a Jake Arrieta or anybody like that. That to me would be a big move.
Yeah, I don't want. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think they need to spend big money.
No.
Yeah.
Or even like a Yu Darvish. I think those guys will command pretty big money, and I don't think the Angels need to do that. Now, if it just so happened, this is going to answer another question, obviously. This is from Lauren. She says, hello, so my husband keeps talking about how the Angels need to add another quality starting pitcher. I'm okay with what we have. What do you guys think? So I'm going to answer both questions in one here. I think the Angels are fine with what they have, but if a guy like Lance Lynn falls onto their lap for maybe a 1 year, 2 year deal at maybe $5, $6 million, $7 million, that even a guy like Jaime Garcia at 1 year, $10 million, I think that would be beneficial for the team. That'd be great. But if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with it. I think we're fine with the rotation that you see right now. If Ohtani is anything what he's supposed to be, then that's an instant upgrade right there. Having Garrett Richards healthy all year, that's an instant upgrade right there. Having Skaggs healthy all year, instant upgrade right there. Same thing. I could keep going down the list at every single guy. Parker Bridwell coming off his rookie season where he had a very good season, where for a while was the best pitcher in our rotation. If he can just kind of duplicate what he did last year, we're fine there. Like I said, I don't know if they're done exactly, but if something falls under that, maybe adding another bullpen guy, I think they'll do it. Big moves, I think they're done.
Yeah, I don't see him making a big a splash in free agency as far as, like you said, with a Jake Arrieta. But Alex Cobb's not bad either.
Yeah.
You said Lance Lynn. They're both in their early 30s. You can sign them to maybe a 3-year deal. Again, it depends on what the money is. You don't want to go and breaking the bank for free agency. And maybe now with Arrieta and you taking a little bit longer than people originally thought, maybe Alex Cobb and Lance Lynn maybe are kind of second guessing themselves. Maybe we should sign now and kind of,
Yeah.
sign now and start getting him paid and know where they're going to go, because, just the whole off-season signing in general has been really, really slow.
Really slow.
And I think it's because a lot of these pitchers, a lot of these position players are kind of putting themselves out the market. A lot of GMs and front office people are now hesitant to give people those 5, 6, 7 year deals out of free agency, just because there's been so many busts throughout the years, throughout Major League Baseball, that you can get a fairly good pitcher for a third of the price, and why not do that and maybe upgrade somewhere else that you need to upgrade, or keep your own players instead of breaking the bank for an Arrieta for a Yu Darvish. So I think the Angels are fine where they at. I think they have enough arms now. Keeping them healthy and making sure that they can pitch to their potential is a whole nother, whole nother thing. But I have no problem with the Angels just sitting tight and just kind of, if something comes off of the waiver wire,
Right.
and they can pick someone up that way.
Yeah.
I think they'll do that.
Yeah, and if hey, July comes around and we're a game back,
Yeah,
they
there's
can
always
trade
a
for
trade
somebody.
market. There's always a trade market.
so why break bank when you can just kind of add to what you already know? You're in the middle of the season. You know what you need. Go out and get the trade that you need. Real quick, we want to shout out. Lauren wanted us to shout out her husband Jared Codd. Thanks for listening to the show. We'll move forward here real quick on another question. Kind of touches on the pitching. This is from Jason Kemp. He said, "Hello there, fellas. Loving the show. It's awesome to know that there's a show that just talks about Angels baseball." Thank you, Jason. Here's a question. I've been hearing a lot of noise, at least in the Angels social media sites, that it's looking like the Angels are looking for Blake Parker to be the closer. If so, what do you guys think of Blake Parker? Can he possibly be the closer this upcoming season? Dan?
Yeah, he finished really well last year. He had a really good season overall last year. Just signed to avoid a 1 year deal to avoid arbitration for 1.8. So again, he's not making a ton of money. I don't see why not. Honestly, if you ask me what I would do, I would have an open competition going to spring training between him, Cam, Keegan in there, Jim Johnson. If you throw those 4 guys out there, let them get in some high. I mean, it's spring training, so I don't know how high of a leverage is going to be.
Have him close the game.
But have him close the game. Have him kind of get in that mentality. And whoever's the hottest hand, go with it. Roll with it to the opening day. And if he balls out the rest of the year, then boom, there's your closer. If
Right.
he struggles, if he gets the yips, if anything happens, all right, now you can try to move pieces around and try to figure out who your closer could be. I don't think they need to be set on one guy. I think they can ride a hot hand. I think all of them are good. All the guys are good. I don't think none of them are great. But again, you put them in a situation and see what happens. And if someone catches fire, catch fire. And then kind of like what you were saying about the starter. And if you feel like you're that closer away, then you go get one at the midseason like they did with Street when the year they won the division.
Right.
Just because they're not making moves now doesn't mean they're done making moves forever.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you roll with what you have, and then if you catch lightning in a bottle like you did with Petit, and you have a great bullpen guy there, and then you can find another guy that can close, and you can have. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of having, if you put Blake Parker on the close roll, that's fine. Then you put Cam at the 8th, you put Key at the 7th, and then Johnson or any of those other guys, you have them be floaters, and they can get guys out when needed.
Right.
But I have no problem with any one of those guys going for the closing job.
I've said this before. Every closer that's a closer now at one point had to develop.
Right.
The Angels have 3 to 4 guys that they can, not 3 guys that they can develop. Keenan, Blake, and Cam. And Cam was our closer at the beginning of the last year. Didn't really work out. He got hurt or whatever. They at some point had to become late inning guys. They had to be 8th inning guys. They had to learn their roles. Mariano had to do it. Everyone had to do it. Mariano did it. Troy Percival did it. Frankie Rodriguez did it. At one point, they were 8th inning guys. At one point, they finally had to say, you're going in, you're going to pitch the 9th, you're going to be our closer. That's where the Angels are at now. They have 3 guys now that can do that. So, like you said, put them in high leverage situations, late in innings, see what they can do. I don't know, like you said, if they have a set idea on who they want to be the closer going into spring training. Like you said, maybe closer by committee, and then we'll see from there whoever has a better spring that becomes our closer. I don't know. I think it's a good problem to have
Right.
3 guys that can possibly close a game out for you. So that's my take on that. Quickly to answer Matt Harper's question, who emailed us earlier today. We kind of touched on it, so we won't get too far into it. He said, okay, I'm not one to buy into rumors. I'm seeing this a lot. So yesterday, Yu Darvish tweeted that there's another team in the mix to sign him. What are the chances that team is the Angels? I don't think it's the Angels. They haven't really talked about it. I just don't see the Angels signing Yu Darvish.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, again, everyone's freaking out because allegedly you put one more team on his list of teams that he would sign with. But again, that's great if you want to sign with the Angels, but do the Angels want to sign you? I mean, It takes 2 to make a contract. So I can see the Angels talking to him, maybe testing the water, seeing what he wants, and seeing if they can get him down to something they want, but not really pursuing it much more than that. The Angels should call and just see what he is interested in, what his mindset is, just to do your background, do your due diligence. But I can't see them putting, again, there's some rumors out there that he's asking for like $5 million or 5 years for 110 million.
85 to 110 million.
Yeah,
What I heard.
So again,
That's a lot.
5 years for a pitcher that, again, he does decent in the season. He's really good in the season, but in the playoffs he's had his little issues. So I wouldn't think the Angels would back end the truck to get him. And going back again, if you look at the starters they have, between Haney, Richards, and Skaggs, between the last 2 years, Haney's only pitched 6 games the last 2 years. G. Richards only pitched 12 games in the last 2 years. Skaggs only pitched 26 games in the last 2 years. So if you can get these type of guys to have a full load or close to a full load in the year, you're not going to need a Yu Darvish. You're not going to need it to tie up that money somewhere else. You can keep it for signing a free agent, signing or trading a guy and taking on his salary at the deadline, or even the Trout is coming up in 2020. You can start putting away a little money for this, working contracts that will come off the books at that time, so you can give him more money. So I don't think the Angels need to tie themselves up in a pitcher that's going to last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, if he happens to say, look, I'll go to you guys for 3 years and this amount of
money. If he gets a 3-year deal, if he can get a 3-year deal out of him, or if he feels that he's not getting fair market value and he wants to go for like a 2-year deal and then try again to test the market, then great. Then I say, Angels should go all in. But from everything I'm hearing, whether it's him or Arrieta, they all want the 5-6 year deal. And with the Angels, I don't think they're in a situation where they want that. Or even they don't even need it.
I don't think they need to do that. I'm okay, like you said. I don't think they'll go after him. like, oh, let's go get him. I think, hey, what are you looking for? Okay, we'll get him. All right, so let's go into the poll question that we have during every podcast. Like every Monday, Dan will drop a link on the Halo Haven Instagram and Twitter and whatnot. And this month's poll
pretty
question.
much. Yeah, I should
This
put that
month's
one.
poll question is.
Yeah, so again, going back to the hot stove season, that's not really going anywhere, but
The warm stove.
the warm stove. The Angels have made, going back to what we're talking about, some moves, whether it's Upton, Otani, Kinsler, Cozart, just for some. We didn't even mention Johnson or anything like that. But again, if the Angels are done making moves this offseason, are you satisfied with what they've done? And 60% of people said yes, they're satisfied. If they don't make another move this offseason, they're satisfied with what they've done. And 40% said no, they wanted to make more moves.
I mean, I lean towards the side of I'm satisfied because we touched on one big thing was Upton. I think Upton was the guy that we needed to sign, and we did that. Then we went out and we signed Shohei Ohtani. Then we went and traded for Ian Kinsler. Then we signed Cozart. Instant upgrades to our roster right there. And then Jim Johnson can't be overlooked either.
Right.
Jim Johnson's a guy that if for whatever reason the three guys we were talking about to be the closer can't do the job, this guy has experience. This guy closed, I think, 2 seasons of 50 saves. Like, that's no joke. Sure, he's been mediocre these last few years, but maybe a change of scenery, maybe, I don't know. You never know. So I'm okay. They made moves that have made the roster a lot better than it was last year, and there's no reason why they can't compete. So I'm satisfied if they don't make another move. I really am.
And you got to look at too if their farm system isn't great, but bullpen wise, if they want to bring up the Jaime Barria, again he's like one of the guys to look out for this season. He flew through the organization's minor leagues last year. Like he started in Class A. He started at 66ers when the season started,
Right.
and he ended in AAA. So I mean he's flying through the organization's minor league system. 21-year-old right-handed kid. So I would not be surprised if he breaks camp in AAA. If someone goes down, you can bring him up, give you a spark, or if you need, does good in AAA, bring him up for more of a spot relief role here and there. But there are players that the Angels have in their systems that, might not be the top level prospect, but can contribute at a good level to the Angels organization moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. You're not going to please everybody. The 48%, was it 40%?
Yeah.
That said we're not done. We shouldn't be done. They're not satisfied. I don't know what else you would want the Angels to do. I mean, it's not another. It's you can't go sign Moustakas now.
Right.
You can't go sign Hosmer because where are you going to put these guys? Like, we can't go sign or trade for Clayton Kershaw. We can't go get these guys. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. You got to be realistic when you think about your team and the way it's put together. Unless you're the New York Yankees, okay? And even then, the Yankees can't just go get whoever they want, although it seems like they always find a way to do that. But, they can't go get Kershaw. They can't come and get Mike Trout like that. We can't either.
Well, even now with the new CBA, and I know probably the more casual fan doesn't know
The threshold.
the threshold is there are a lot more strict rules than now about getting over the tax luxury tax than there was a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
Back when the Yankees were going over, the Dodgers were going
Right.
over, Boston was going. The Dodgers, for as big a spender as they've been in the past, they are now under the threshold.
Yeah, they had to be.
Yeah,
They had to.
They had to
Yeah.
because I mean before, if you look at it this way, if you're over the threshold, all right, whatever, they give you kind of a slap on the wrist. Now it's like they're bringing out a paddle and giving you a whooping if
Yeah.
you're over. So a lot of teams are working hard to stay under. So and I think that's reflected too in the free agency market. Teams aren't willing to spend all this money and bring them up right to that threshold to where now they can't make any other moves. So gotta be patient. If somebody falls in your lap because they're mad at the market and they want to sign a 1-year deal, then yeah, sign for a 1-year deal. Have them, and then if they want to go out next year and test the market, then let them come out and test the market next year, unless you get them for 1 year.
Right.
And then you get them for a contract year. So now, obviously, they're going to be doing everything they can to bolster that money they're going to try to make next year. So again, I have no issue with Angels not making a single move the rest of the year. I think they can, I think everything else they need can come in house. Whether it's a backup outfielder we won't even need because they brought back Eric Young.
Yeah.
So that can be, he's probably gonna be the fourth outfielder. So you're
Right.
done there. If you want to bring Coward up to be the
Utility infield, yeah.
utility infield, he played
It's not
third.
forget you have Albuena and Crone there too.
Yeah,
like-
so I mean, there's players there. And yeah, probably the roster you see spring training probably won't be the roster you see at the end of the next season because of trades or
Yeah,
anything.
I
Especially if they're in the hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if they're in the hunt.
There'll
they're
be
gonna
moves made.
Yeah.
I mean, the Angels, like we touched on it. I mean, if the Angels need to get a starting pitcher, they're going to do it. If we're a game back, or we need to stay in front of the Wild. Hey, look, I'm going to be realistic with you guys and say I don't know if we're going to be able to win the West with the team that the Houston Astros have.
Right.
Now, can we be competitive? Yeah, definitely.
Can it
sure.
go from 21 games out to maybe 10 games
Yeah.
out? Yeah, definitely.
Could the Angels surprise people and maybe win the division? Sure, anything can happen, but we got to be realistic and say, okay, what can this team possibly do? And I can definitely see them being in the postseason. They can definitely win the wild card position.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing
Right.
too.
I mean, look at that freaking Houston Astros, for God's sake. They're even talking about bringing Garrett Cole. They got Verlander. They got Keuchel on the top of that rotation. You saw the lineup that they have in the World Series. The Angels definitely built this team to compete, and they can definitely surprise people. I mean, the 2002 team was not a team that anyone expected to win anything that they did. The Dodgers in '88 were definitely a team that wasn't expected to win anything and won. So there's teams that have surprised people and won, and this is what this team is probably looking to do. This I don't know if they'll really surprise people because they do have a really solid lineup, and it's gonna boil down to pitching.
Right.
And if the pitching rotation can stay healthy and give you solid innings, there's no reason why this lineup, the offense that this lineup should bring, shouldn't win us any games. It's just a matter of getting them out there, staying healthy, and playing the game. And they're gonna win games. I think the offense is gonna keep us in a lot of games. Everyone's so worried about the pitching, but you forget to look at this lineup and say, man, these guys are probably gonna be able to score a lot of runs. When you have a guy like Luis Valbuena who had 22 home runs last year on the bench, he's not even going to be in your starting lineup. You got a guy in Eric Young Jr. who is a solid little backup. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. It's just a matter of being able to compete and, like you said, not be 20-something games out of first place.
Right.
That's all you want to do. I want to be able to watch games in late September that are still games that I want to watch. This year was better than last year. Last year we were watching 2017 was better than 2016 because 2016 we were watching games in September that didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So in this year they mattered, and you look to progress every year, and that's what the Angels, I believe, have tried to do. You got to commend Billy Epler for making the moves that he did. And like you said, dude, the farm system it's looking a lot better, man.
Right.
You look
And
at
they finally got two guys in the top 100 with
Kevin Maitan.
Maitan and Adele.
Yeah.
They got two guys in the top 10, which I can't remember last time they had two guys
Right.
in the top 10. I mean, technically, I guess you can say they have three guys in the top 10 because of Ohtani, but everyone, he's just considered a prospect because he hasn't played a game yet with the upper team. So
That's right. We got three now.
yeah, so technically we have three until opening day there, and you take them off all those lists or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, kind of like we were saying, the Angels were 5 games out at the end of last year. They're just about 500, 80 and 82. So could you flip it around and have them win maybe 87,
85 through 89.
Yeah,
Nice.
get on a little hot streak, maybe win 90. Yeah,
Right.
sure. And if they do that, they'd be in the wild card.
Right.
So that's I don't think they're. It would be unheard of for them to be a 10-game difference between
Right.
last year and this year.
And you gotta remember the teams that kind of were ahead of us. I mean, Minnesota made that second wild card. Can Minnesota? Are they better than we are now? I don't think they are.
Right.
I think we've made much more improvements to our team that have made us better. So I don't. You got to look at the teams that won ahead of us, and and the teams that are kind of that could be in there. And New York definitely, I think, will win their division.
Right.
So now we got to worry about the Red Sox. So that's something that you got to look at too. But we'll worry about that when we hit that road, because that's a whole other thing we'll have to talk about on the podcast. Anything else you want to talk about before we start wrapping stuff up here?
No, but again, nothing stands out to me. But again, we're on iTunes now. Go to iTunes. And if you're already doing that, great. Thank you. Leave a review. Leave a comment. Leave something to let us know what we're doing, what you like, what you don't like. Helps us back a lot of feedback. And let me plug our email address. So if you have questions or comments or whatever, send an email anytime, whether it's the day before podcast, or if you listen to this and you think of something that we didn't touch on that you want to hear about, send us an email. It's allangelspodcast@gmail.com. That's probably the best way to reach us. Again, Halo Haven on Instagram, Halo_Haven on Twitter, Halo_Haven. Plenty of ways to reach one of us.
Right.
If you have a question, comment, idea, what you think would work, we're always open to ideas. Again,
Sure.
We're doing this for the fans because we both looked at it and saw there really wasn't a podcast or anything out there for Angel fans to listen to. Yeah, there's your general MLB ones and stuff like that, but it wasn't a strictly Angel baseball podcast. So we wanted to fill that void, and so as Angel fans, if you had any comments or anything like that you want to see, let us know. See if we can work it in.
Yeah.
But again, emails allangelspodcast@gmail.com, Halo_Haven on Twitter and Instagram. If you have anything, hit us up, leave a review on iTunes, spread the word.
Yeah, and we're looking towards next year too, like improving, the show, audio wise, visual wise, segment wise too. So that's always something that, like Dan said, if you guys have a suggestion on a segment, let us know. One cool thing that, I've been working on something. Well, myself and Chris Security Johnson had an interview with superfan Tom Duino. Was it about a week ago or so? We had a interview with him, and at first we were talking about just making it a segment on this show, but when we got to talking to Tom,